Australian Mark Larkham has demonstrated that he has the ability to go right to the top in motorsport. He's an achiever. 2 years ago, Mark was a refrigeration mechanic living in his hometown of Griffith, but he had talent. In 1987, Mark sold everything he owned and bought a race car. Just 2 years later, and Mark has taken out the Australian Formula Ford Championship. These achievements prove three things. The guy's brimming with natural talent, intelligence and determination, and it's been recognised. Greg Siddle, the Australian manager who guided the careers of world champion Nelson Piquet and current Formula One star Roberto Merino, has taken Mark under his wing. Positive Mark will follow in the steps of his former protégés. Next stop, Europe. Mark's been offered the drive at races attracting international media and television coverage. For Australian companies targeting Europe and Britain, here's an opportunity to promote your product and support a young Australian star who's heading to the top. Have a listen to the following.
320 million affluent consumers live in Europe and the UK. For Australian companies, that's a lot of people, a lot of needs, a lot of buying power. Australian organisations already in Europe concentrating on building strong reputations and establishing their corporate image and/or brand awareness are benefiting with healthy contracts and sales. These companies have locked into the world's most dynamic economic marketplace and the enormous potential this offers as 1992 approaches. The most effective tool used to reach this massive consumer market is sport. In Europe, motor racing is the sport attracting all the attention. Australians discovered the exciting world of open-wheeler racing when Formula One hit Adelaide streets in '85. Fast, glamorous, professional, intensely competitive, and colourful. Attracting huge crowds hooked on this high-tech mixture of speed and excitement. Europe's been motorsport mad for decades. An estimated 4.5 million people attended a European motorsport event in 1989. A further 285 million tuned to view the action on TV. Single-seater Formula racing dominates. For any young driver, the ultimate is a Grand Prix drive. But there's a ladder to climb to the top, a learning curve to conquer. Australia's single-seater champ, Mark Larkham, is already well on his way toward Formula One, having successfully climbed the first rung in the motorsport ladder. To get there, he must progress through the European formula that paves the way to Formula One. The next step in Larkham's career is the GM Lotus Series contested throughout Europe and the UK. Without doubt, GM Lotus is the most significant and well-promoted racing formula in Europe outside of Formula One. General Motors direct a massive budget towards the marketing and promotion of their championship and its drivers. Considered a coup, the organisers, the European Formula Drivers Association, secured GM Lotus Racing as a Sunday support event at 6 international Formula One Grand Prix. That's GM Lotus on show before 600,000 Formula One fans and vast TV coverage. For the drivers, the chance to perform in front of the ever-watchful eyes of Formula One team managers and drivers and the world's media is attraction enough. To maintain costs, emphasize skill and produce close on-track action, race cars use identical chassis, tyres and engines, often seeing the top 15 machines qualifying within 1 second of each other. Australia's Mark Larkham will be competing in GM Lotus in Europe and the UK in 1990. A seat secured with a leading team that's produced winners for the past 2 years. Mark now has to join forces with a dynamic Australian marketer to help finance his road to Formula One. Mark wants an Australian sponsor, a local company hungry for exposure and market share in Europe and the UK. This is strictly a business deal. The organizations that take advantage of this vehicle for promotion can expect returns on their marketing investment. These returns include greater sales, enhanced image, increased brand awareness, staff motivation, and radically improved market attitudes. Why? Because frankly, motorsport sells. There's no other reason why motorsport attracts the greatest slice of corporate sports sponsorship, around $1 billion each year. Benetton, NEC, USF&G, Marlboro, Mobil, Foster's, Dreiserbone, and Canon. 8 totally unrelated product categories that chose motorsport to drive home their brand. Sales results justify their long-term commitment to international marketing through motorsports. 5.3 billion viewers watch motor racing telecasts each year. Sky Channel in Europe alone beams 11 hours of motorsport into 17.1 million lounge rooms each week. Simply, motorsport through its vast international television coverage, massive crowds, and a worldwide calendar of events, sells. Motorsport possesses a unique characteristic, an emotional attraction that continues to draw people, hundreds of thousands of people to the track or TV. Whether it's the excitement, noise, fumes, speed, or color, or a combination, motorsport casts a spell, and consumers jump to attention. This graph demonstrates how awareness is gained through close or casual interest levels in major sporting events in the UK, with men aged 18 to 54. Motor racing, 85%. Soccer, 81%. Tennis, 81%. Golf, 74%. Cricket, 66%. Horse racing, 33%. In the 17 million households in Europe and the UK that screen Eurosport, a satellite television program on which GM Lotus features, 30% of all men aged 16 to 54 are reached by way of motorsport every month. And amazingly, 15% of all women aged 16 plus are also reached every 30 days. In 1989, a documented 310 minutes of the GM Lotus series went to air by way of television stations worldwide. For 1990, you can expect an estimated 10 hours of GM Lotus coverage through TV networks around the continent and up to 6 races telecast through BBC in the UK. One is quick to realize the enormous potential of this promotional tool. As an indication of the domestic value of television, a 1-minute national TV spot in the UK alone can cost from $100,000 on a Saturday afternoon to $145,000 on a Sunday, and up to $330,000 for a weekday afternoon. Yes, that's right, just 1 minute. On average, a racing car can have 3 minutes Solus television exposure during a race coverage. That's $435,000 in perceived value of advertising. With a minimum of 15 races scheduled for telecast, $6.5 million in perceived value would be a realistic figure. The value of television can be wasted if the commercial branding of your race car, transporter, mechanic's clothing, race overalls and helmet are not professionally developed. A well-designed race car would be camera tested to ensure that it will be seen effectively during broadcasts. In addition to documented TV coverage, each race in the GM Lotus Euro Series is filmed by Brunswick Films and supplied to the satellite news services Viz News and WTN, who distribute the material to over 50 television stations around the world. Footage is also forwarded directly to individual television stations. Monitoring all print media generated around the world is difficult. However, a report on round 2 of the GM Lotus Euro Series at Zeltweg on the 18th of June this year showed in Austria alone a total in excess of 30 million impressions, 22 million in the text of publications, 8 million impressions from photographs. Couple all this with on-track spectators of up to 185,000 per meeting, the massive print media, a race car transporter doubling as a mobile billboard, trekking throughout Europe and the UK, corporate hospitality, trade fairs, driver personality appearances, sales and staff incentives such as single-seater circuit experience and tuition. And you only begin exploiting this promotional opportunity. The image of motorsport is a powerful persuader, providing positive associations with your brand, product, or service. Style, design, color, glamour, professionalism, technological excellence, innovation, and importantly, success through teamwork. These images and many more can be exploited through linking motorsport with corporate advertising and promotion. Larkham and motorsport is an exciting opportunity for Australian exporters. With the unification of Europe in 1992, now's the time smart exporters will establish their brand awareness, image and profile, whilst they can achieve easy market entry. Gaining a greater market share as the strengthening of the bloc increases the overall economic and buying power of Europe. Additionally, this promotional opportunity qualifies for the federal government's Export Development Grant. Consider the cost for your reach. Consider the size of the market. Consider the benefits of increased sales. Suddenly, the concept of a high-profile motorsport sponsorship package on an international scale becomes a profitable, extremely effective investment. Why? Because motorsport sells.
I think you'll agree, Larkham and motorsport provide some interesting marketing alternatives.